just tell the truth and trust in the American people that over time they're going to know what the truth is.
Yes, it is time for the truth. Right here, right now. This is the Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives. With your host, John Matthews.
The latter-day prophet. Baying against the hypocrisies of our time.
And Joe Hakos.
You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
The Conservative Syndicate is comprised of some of the most informed pundits and activists available today. Together, we seek to tear down the imaginary wall, a separation between church and state through education, information, and engagement on the religion of politics and the politics of religion. And now, your host on the globally syndicated Conservative Syndicate, John Matthews and Joe Hakos.
And how are we doing out there all across this great land of ours and around the world? It is that time for the Conservative Syndicate coming to you live, coast to coast, nationally acclaimed, globally syndicated, the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. And I'm your host, John Matthews. Joe Hakos, my co-host, is taking the day off. He had a rough day at the doctor's, tooling around, and just needs to get a little bit of more rest here. Probably be back tomorrow. We talked before the show. Just take it easy, take it easy. He is recovering, and he is moving about, and he is doing some very positive things. So we're not going to rush it. We'll give him all the time he needs to heal. Once again, our prayers and cares out to Joe and his wife Cynthia and their family. So we'll do what we do best on this show, though. We'll continue to educate, inform, and engage you, our listening audience. And going to be a little bit different show today. And if you've been listening to me for more than 4 or 5 years, we've been on the air now for over 8, going on 9 years. And one of the things I've often referred to when I talk about things going on in California is that California is kind of a microcosm of what goes on in the rest of the country. Sometimes we're ahead of the curve, sometimes we're catching up, depending on what you refer to or what you mean when you say ahead of the curve, meaning a lot of things that happen in the country begin here in California, or if some issue is introduced across the nation, California is usually one of the first states to pick up on it one way or the other. And so what we're going to do today, I'm having an interview today, the first hour here after our first break, with a young lady named Deborah Pauly. Deborah is a very good friend of mine. She actually was a co-host here at the Conservative Syndicate, I think back in 2012, 2013. And she is a councilwoman out here in Orange County. She represents the people of Villa Park, California. She is very involved, was the former first chair of the Orange County GOP, vice chair of the Orange County GOP. And she is now running for a state assembly seat out here in the 68th District. And so I asked her to come on. We're going to talk about her campaign. And you'll see some of the things what I'm referring to when I say microcosm, some of the things that are going on out here. And believe it or not, out here in California, there is a bit of a conservative uprising in our midst right now. The California Republican Assembly, which was once just a lapdog for the Republican Party, the leadership has been purged. They have some new people in there, and they recently, the evidence of their change in views and the direction that they want to take the state is very evident in the fact that they endorsed Deborah. Deborah is a one-of-a-kind conservative in my book. She has she's in the lion's den every single day, and she manages to get things done and yet retain her conservative values and principles and does not compromise. I'll tell you, this woman does not compromise. So we're going to have her on, and then later on I'm going to talk about a couple other things going on. You may or may not know it, but over in Switzerland, there is a massive uprising going on amongst the constituents, the citizens of Switzerland, believe it, of all places. You know, that place that Bernie Sanders tells us so well represents democratic socialism, Switzerland and Finland and the Netherlands and places like that. And all these countries that we're talking about here are all being inundated with Muslim refugees. Well, the people of Switzerland apparently at one time open arms, just welcomed everybody in open arms. Not the case anymore. The citizens passed a referendum or an initiative demanding that at least 80,000 Muslim refugees be deported from Switzerland. And in the course of all that, found out that the leaders of Switzerland, which are very socialistic and very liberal, have been hiding from the people some of the things, the atrocities that have been going on over in Switzerland by these refugees that they let in. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. And then the other thing and the big issue on my mind that I want to talk about is, if you don't know, the judgment or the ruling that the Supreme Court is supposed to make sometime in June on Barack Obama's amnesty bill. Remember that amnesty through executive order? The creation of the DREAM Act. Remember the DREAM Act? And what has happened is Obama's basically said, while this is all being litigated and everything else, he wants to be able to keep these illegals here through this executive order, and that's what's being contested. Did he overstep his presidential authority by allowing these people to stay in the country rather than be deported? Well, he's taken it a step further now and saying that because they are being, quote-unquote, deferred, and while all this is being decided and while they're being deferred in order to be reviewed as to whether they should be given green cards and all this other stuff, he thinks that they should be entitled to some of the benefits that come from government, and in particular, things like Social Security, things like that, entitlement programs. So if they're over here working, they should be able to draw benefits of disability, Social Security, things of that nature. Of course, Obama counters that, well, we're not giving them welfare or food stamps or anything else. We're talking about they're over here working, they're being deferred, we're holding them, waiting to make a decision. And at the at the discretion of the Homeland Security Secretary, certain illegals should be allowed to be classified as partial citizens in terms of earning benefits. And so that is the crux of what's going on with this judgment, or this ruling that is coming up here in June. So we're going to talk about that. And then a little bit more information I have found out about the situation with the Panama Papers. If we have time, we'll get more and we'll get into that. So there's a whole line of what I'd like to think of more relevant news than the current scuttlebutt that's out there. Again, I'm trying to stay as relevant as I can in a day where we're more concerned with who's got the best looking wife than what's going on in the country, that kind of thing. So things have a little bit calmed down a little bit in the primary front. Donald Trump and Ted Cruz and John Kasich are gearing up for New York. A lot of weird things going on there. I don't know how the New York primary is going to play out. I'm sure Trump will probably win big there because it's his home state. But on the other side of the aisle, there may be an issue with Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders. Boy, wouldn't that be something if Hillary Clinton lost New York, or if Bernie Sanders only lost by a few points? That would tell you very well what's going on in the Democratic community in terms of Hillary's Teflon appeal to the establishment. So who knows? Bad numbers for Hillary. I mean, she could win, but let's say she wins by 5 points or less. I mean, that would be an indicator that maybe the establishment might want to pull all Uncle Joe out of retirement or pending retirement. I imagine he still shows up to work every day, and maybe put him through the use of superdelegates or whatever. So if we have time, we'll talk about that kind of stuff. So that's pretty much where we're at today, and we'll see what else happens during the course of the day. I always like to check the internet and see what's out there in cyberspace when we're on break and stuff, and we'll see what's happening here. So, so we'll have coming up here right again after our first break, Councilwoman Deborah Pauley from Villa Park, who's running for the state assembly seat out here in California, 68th District. And we'll get her on the air here, and we'll see what's going on with her. We'll talk about her campaign, how it relates to California, and, of course, you should be able to draw from that how it relates to California is how it is relating to the rest of the country. So let's go to our first break, and when we come back, we'll get into today's festivities. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Don't go away.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. And then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-790-5960. That's 1-800-790-5960. Again, 1-800-790-5960. Call now.
Prices are for base buildings only. May not be available in some areas. Attention business owners, do you want a stimulus package that really works? Before you spend thousands of dollars more than you should on your next building project, listen to this. General Steel has a stimulus package designed to help you save as much as half the cost of conventional construction on your next building. As much as half. That's right. General Steel can save you thousands of dollars with a pre-engineered steel building designed for your business or church. How about a 50 by 100 foot building for under $30,000? So don't pay thousands more than you should without calling General Steel first and save as much as half the cost and time of conventional construction. With the projected demand for steel in Japan and China, prices may be skyrocketing.
877-927-3360. 877-927-3360. 877-927-3360.
Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, auto pay, and paperless billing and other restrictions apply. If you can't see the difference, why pay the difference? Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Only Dish brings you the best in entertainment for less than $20 a month. Cut the cable and don't get directed. Switch to Dish because at just $19.99, Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. It's so simple. The same channels cost less with Dish. So since you can't see the difference, don't pay the difference. Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Get premium movie channels free for 3 months, starting at just $19.99. Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. Call now to save with Dish. Dial 1-800-600-1645. That's 1-800-600-1645. The same channels for less than $20 a month. Dish. Call 1-800-600-1645 for details.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live, daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
Read something recently worth thinking about. It's the soldier, not the campus organizer, who's given us freedom to demonstrate. It's the soldier, not the reporter, who's given us freedom of the press. It's the soldier, not the poet, who's given us freedom of speech. It's the soldier who serves under the flag, who defends the protesters' right to burn the flag. Isn't it time now to demonstrate that we support our troops? it not for the brave, there'd be no land of the free.
Fred Thompson's message was brought to you by citizensunited.org.
Okay, hey, we're back, and you are listening to the Conservative Syndicate, Real Conservative Talk from Real Conservatives. I'm your host, John Matthews, mad prophet of the airways, on that mission from God, and that is to tear down the imaginary wall of separation between church and state. We do that here at the Conservative Syndicate by educating, informing, and engaging you, our listening audience. And having said that, I want to bring on an old friend and former compadre here on our show, Deborah Pauly, Via Park Councilwoman, currently running for the State Assembly seat in the 68th District out here in Orange County, California. How are you doing, Debbie?
I am wonderful. It's so glad to be back with you, John. I am really excited to be here with you. I'm not an old friend. I'm a long-time friend. You have to be careful how you say these things with women, you know.
I know. It's been, I think it's been ages since we've actually talked.
I think so, too. But I follow you. I see what you're doing on Facebook. You're still doing good things. Of course, I've been completely actively engaged. As a matter of fact, this afternoon, even though it's raining here in Southern California, there was a group that got together led by We the People Rising. We had a rally in front of the Orange County Sheriff's Office calling on, the state to end sanctuary cities, and also just reaffirming our support for law enforcement, that Blue Lives Matter. There were probably, maybe about 20 conservatives that were there with banners of the just representing all of it's called the Stolen Lives Quilt. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but individuals in this state, in the state of California, who have died at the hands of individuals who not even legally should be here. And it was just really, just really distressing. We actually had one of the moms with us, Sabine Jordan, was there. She lost her 30-year-old son to an illegal immigrant who shouldn't even have been in the state, and the guy hardly got anything for it. And the other thing that was upsetting about this, even though the organizers let the media know about it, they didn't bother to show up. The only way you read about these kinds of things is on alternative media like yours or Breitbart. Breitbart was covering a very similar event that they had in Yorba Linda a couple of months ago, honoring the thousands of U.S. citizens that have been killed by illegal immigrants. But, there are those that are bringing it to the forefront when you have, some situations that are just really difficult to get your hands around. When it was first brought to my attention, just how many illegal immigrants are criminals, aside from the criminal fact that they came into the country illegally, but are doing things to our illegally law-abiding citizens that are living here. A young man named Jamal Shaw up in L.A., young black man, he wasn't a man at the time, he was just a little high school student. He was 16, 17 years old, doing everything right, being raised properly by his parents in a difficult environment, and he stayed away from the gang element, stayed away from drugs, was doing well in school, was doing great as a football player. Colleges were actually looking at him, wanting to recruit him, and he was coming home one day and he was killed on the street by an illegal alien that was in the city. And it just, of course, turned their lives the family's lives upside down. So even if you want to do the right thing in some of the harder parts of this state, you can't get away from this element. And I think that's one of the issues that we should be paying attention to. Why in the world the state of California has become basically a sanctuary state.
Yeah, and I was just thinking here, I was looking at some stuff here in terms of California. As you know, I live here in California, but it's not always the number one thing on my radar here. And I was looking at some of the things, especially, Governor Moonbeam up there, signing the minimum wage law legislation here, last week or something like that. And in the process of all this, I was just doing some research on on the budget. The deficit and the surplus that he claims that we have and everything. And one of the things that I found remarkable in line with what you're just saying here is his comments about the fact that he wants to promote the progressive agenda here. It's like they don't even hide it anymore. He comes out and he says, yeah, we're going to take all this extra money that we've got and we want to be able to fund low-income families in terms of education and benefits and stuff like that. And we want to deal with, or we want to implement the progressive agenda. He used that phrase. And I'm just like, it just boggles my mind when you have stuff like what you're just talking about here. People, we're being so overrun here, and I know some other states, Texas and Arizona, but here in California, we feel it like every single day. I mean, just getting to and from work. The impact of having so many people here draining our system and our resources. So, yeah, I get where you're coming from there. And it is a sad state of affairs because we're always torn between the humanity, compassionate side of, yeah, we understand why they're here. Why most of them come here, but there is it's just like the terrorists, the Islamic radicalism, is that it's the bad apples, and so you have to do something. You just can't say, well, let's continue to let it happen just because this compassionate side of us says, we got to do something to help these poor people. And how do you plan on balancing that when you're in office?
Yeah, there does have to be balance. And you brought up several issues there, and I'm not quite sure which one to latch on to first when you're talking about this.
Well, it's your airtime. You take whichever one you want in whichever order you want to take it.
Well, I think just talking a little bit about, yes, we want to be compassionate. We absolutely do. Because we're compassionate people. As a Christian, I'm supposed to take care of, and I want to take care of those less fortunate than myself. That's what I'm taught to do. But that's supposed to be free will. It's all about freedom. It's not supposed to be forcibly extracted from you at the hands of government, and then they decide who gets it and who doesn't, so that they become this great benefactor, and by de facto become the individual that they will answer to or will follow or believe that it's all the government who's doing this for them. You've got a whole society of young people who believe that this is actually good. Socialism is good, but they don't see the broader picture of where we get, at some point in the future. And in the state, in the country, there's estimates that we have about 18 million undocumented immigrants. You want to call them different things all the time, illegal aliens, whatnot. But in the state of California, and this is an estimate, 18 million, who knows really, 22% of them, though, reside in the state of California. Almost a fourth of the illegal immigrants in the country are here. And so it burdens just absolutely everything. And then on top of this, you've got, a governor who's saying we have this great, excess of funding, which of course we don't. If we do, why every time we turn around does he try to figure out a new way, or the Democrats in charge come up with a new way to increase taxes?
Right.
Whether it's for gas or property or sales, whatever, it doesn't matter. They're always coming up with new ways to increase. And one of those things that's going to happen right now, you were talking about the minimum wage increase that just went through. I think he signed that Monday, and I've already written about this. I wrote about it last week as I was watching it unfold. You think things can't get any worse, and then they do. We already have California and New York now are leading the charge in, what does minimum wage look like, and how do we set those? Of course, it's a false bottom. It's not reality. It's not the free market. It's, $15 an hour to do what? Sweep the floors? Well, who is going to hire somebody to sweep the floors for $15 an hour? You know what? I'll just do it myself. Or I'll have this guy who's usually doing that or sweep the floors and automate his function. That's what's happening, and that's what a lot of the businesses have already decided. They're going to figure out, how can I automate these three positions into one automated position, and then just have one guy or gal go ahead and man this now new piece of equipment. Does it fuel innovation? Yes, it does. But what happens with all these people that end up losing their jobs? Instead of $7 or $8 an hour, $9 an hour flipping burgers. You're now making $15 an hour flipping burgers.
Right.
And then what about the 3 people who lost their job because now they have kiosks at the local Burger King where any 7-year-old knows how to go up and punch buttons on a computer. Poop, poop, poop. This is what I'm ordering. Push a button, slide your card, walk up. That person now is out of a job. They're now making $0 an hour. And what ends up happening to the unemployment rate in the state? Well, they'll end up going on unemployment, and we have to take care of them because, they're not working. I mean, it just becomes insane. But the thing that really struck me about the governor's press conference was that the individual he had up there, all kind of like being a cheerleader, because she was just so excited about now she was going to make $15 an hour at some point in the near future. She's 38 years old. She's 38 years old. Now, working at Burger King, and that's why it made me sit up and pay attention to it. I worked at Burger King. I thought, I worked at Burger King. Then I read this and find out she's 38. Well, I was 16 years old when I worked at Burger King. I did that was my first real job where you learn to show up on time and clock in and, take responsibility. And I did that pretty much all the way through high school. The problem is that the economy, because of the Democrats and their policy positions, have so suppressed business in this state and so suppressed the competitive nature that actually makes things thrive. That you got now 38-year-olds that this is the job they can find, and there's like no hope to actually get themselves out of that because any businesses that might be able to hire now a moderately, job qualified individual, they've left the state for every other state. It used to be just hemorrhaging businesses to Nevada and Arizona close by. Then Texas, of course, was actively recruiting, and many, many people left. Now they're leaving for, you name it, the Carolinas, Idaho, Iowa, almost any place else is better than trying to do business in the state of California. We haven't really seen the full impact of what that's going to do to the economy, but this is it's a job killer. It actually incentivizes businesses to shrink because they have to figure out how they can deliver the same good or service for the same amount of money. So they're going to have to get rid of some bodies. And smaller businesses, those 25 or less, don't have to abide by these new wage increases right away. So just get rid of a couple people and you meet that 25-person minimum. And then we'll spend the rest of the time figuring out how we can automate.
I've been looking at things like I use as my model when we talk about this kind of stuff. I use McDonald's because the name is familiar. They're all over the place, this kind of stuff. And I've noticed in the past couple of years the rise in prices at McDonald's. And now what you're seeing out there right now is this. What they're doing now is they're bundling their stuff. It's like you can get 2 Big Macs now for $5 instead of spending $4.50 for one. And you know that what that is the companies are trying to come to some kind of leverage somewhere where they can do this stuff. Now, when we look at the fact that now what they're talking about doing, there's talk out there about saying McDonald's franchises are going to be treated as corporations. Therefore, they're going to have to provide health insurance and benefits as any other corporation. And I'm already seeing models. I think it's out in Detroit somewhere where they have McDonald's now where you go in and you pay with your ATM. And, the people in the back cook, but they no longer have clerks in the front. That kind of thing. So I can see where you're going there, So,
well, that's okay because the way they've been taking care of teaching math in the public schools, most of them can't make change anyway. So it's probably best that we not have them actually touching the money. And that's another part of the problem. Education is one of the lowest in the country.
Okay, we got
in California.
We got to take a break here. We're at the bottom of the hour here. We're going to take a break. We've got Deborah Pauley, Villa Park Councilwoman, running for the state assembly seat out here in the 68th district. When we get back, I want to talk with her about her campaign. That's actually what I brought her on here for. But it's good to have the input on the other stuff. Like I said, California is a microcosm of what goes on across the nation. So if we're talking about it here, you know they're talking about it out there too. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. We'll be right back.
Catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Limited time offer, 24-month commitment, and credit qualification require cancellation fee, auto pay, and paperless billing, and other restrictions apply. If you can't see the difference, why pay the difference? Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Only Dish brings you the best in entertainment for less than $20 a month. Cut the cable and don't get directed. Switch to Dish because at just $19.99, Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. It's so simple. The same channels cost less with Dish. So since you can't see the difference, don't pay the difference. Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Get premium movie channels free for 3 months, starting at just $19.99. Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. Call now to save with Dish. Dial 1-800-600-1645. That's 1-800-600-1645. The same channels for less than $20 a month. Dish. Call 1-800-600-1645 for details.
Attention taxpayers. If you've received a notice from the IRS or state, do not ignore it. It's also a big mistake to try and handle your tax problem on your own. If you owe back taxes, it's a fact that the government has the power to take everything you own, including your home, business, wages, savings, and your freedom. But here's the good news. There's a special toll-free tax hotline set up especially for you. This tax hotline will tell you about new programs that are geared to help you dramatically settle, reduce, or eliminate what you owe. But you have to call now. Take down this number or put it in your cell phone. But call 866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959. When you call, you get free information on how you can reduce or eliminate back taxes, including penalties and interest. You can also be helped if you have unfiled returns, a tax lien, wage garnishment, bank levy, or if you've been entered into a payment plan but can't make the payments. Don't make the big mistake in thinking you can ignore or handle your tax problem on your own. You can stop the collection process immediately. Call this special tax hotline today for free info at 1-866-761-0959. That's 1-866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959.
Term life insurance. It can be a powerful way to protect your assets and your family. You work hard to earn and save your money to build a nest egg for the future. Don't let it get wiped out because you didn't plan ahead. Take the time now and make a small investment in $500,000 or more in quality term life insurance. Call the Term Lifeline and let us shop the best companies to give you the lowest rates. We specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. Ask about some of our 10 and 20-year fixed rate plans with guaranteed rates. Call the Term Lifeline right now for your free insurance quote. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609. You owe it to yourself to protect your family and your assets. Make term life insurance part of that plan. Call the Term Lifeline right now. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live, daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
Prices are for base buildings only. May not be available in some areas. Attention business owners, do you want a stimulus package that really works? Before you spend thousands of dollars more than you should on your next building project, listen to this. General Steel has a stimulus package designed to help you save as much as half the cost of conventional construction on your next building. As much as half. That's right. General Steel can save you thousands of dollars with a pre-engineered steel building designed for your business or church. How about a 50 by 100 foot building for under $30,000? So don't pay thousands more than you should without calling General Steel first and save as much as half the cost and time of conventional construction. With the projected demand for steel in Japan and China, prices may be skyrocketing.
877-927-3360. 877-927-3360. 877-927-3360.
Okay, hey, we're back. You're listening to the Conservative Syndicate, Real Conservative Talk from Real Conservatives. I'm your host, John Matthews. Just a quick reminder, check out our website, theconservativesyndicate.net, and you can catch this archive after we're off the air here, or any of our archives. You can find out about our panel, anything you want to know about the show, theconservativesyndicate.net. I've got Deborah Pauly, councilwoman out of Villa Park, and currently running for the state assembly seat out here in the 68th district in Orange County, California. And Debbie, I wanted to ask you, I wanted to get into the nuts and bolts of your campaign here. I'm just curious here because as I was looking through the last couple of years, since like 2012, what's been going on down in Orange County in terms of the assembly and everything else that's going on down there. You're running against, this is the primary you're in right now, right?
Correct.
Okay, and you're running against, I believe the guy's name is Donald, what's his name? Donald Wagner, right?
Well, no. Now, see, that's not exactly, there are still term limits for those that were, prior to the enactment of Prop 14. So actually, Don Wagner is termed out of office. And I had actually supported him when he ran for assembly 6 years ago. He was the best candidate at that time. One of running again, this was not good then. He's still not good, so I'm not running. I'm not going to help him by not running. This last February, Don Wagner went head-to-head with former Orange County Supervisor John Morlock to run for the state Senate seat that was vacated by Mimi Walters when she was elected to Congress. And John Morlock won. So Don is basically doesn't have much to do right now, but I ran John's ground game. That was a lot of fun. All the volunteers that I've been building for the past 15 years, we put to good use to help John get elected. Good, honorable man. He's the only CPA in the state legislature, which perhaps would explain why we have so much attracting, seriously, just basic things like that. But the 68th Assembly District is from Anaheim Hills, Orange, Villa Park, Tustin, North Tustin, all of that unincorporated area next to the National Forest. Irvine, north of the 5, all the way down to Lake Forest, 230,000 voters. It is a safe Republican seat, or it's considered a safe Republican seat, with about 44% of the registered voters being Republican, and another 23% are no party preference. Many of those, as you and I know, are conservatives who left the party because the party basically left them. Although, because of the presidential election and the fact that they will not be able to vote in the presidential election if they don't register as a Republican or a Democrat, many of them are coming back to the Republican Party. So I think you're probably going to see some spikes in numbers as a result of Trump and Cruz. Trump, of course, has had people, and I know you probably have talked about this before, they've had people paying attention to the Republican primary way before they ever would have. Months and months and months before people normally pay attention. And from the beginning, after about, when we had our first couple of debates, there were 17, I think, Republicans. I kind of did my process of elimination, came down to Trump and Cruz, and have stayed with them from the very beginning. Every time people ask me, I'm on the front page of the Orange County Register. Yes, I like Trump and Cruz for two completely different reasons. And, I'll make a decision as to who I'm going to support when I need to. But I think what will happen, this will serve me well, because the real believers, the true believers, are going to be coming out in the primary, and those are my people. I'm running against, we've got 5 Republicans in this race, one sacrificial lamb Democrat who is not going to go anywhere, and even the Democrats know it. It's he, or I can't even remember if it's a he or she, complete unknown. Nobody's ever heard of him. It's like, we got to put somebody up. Mm-hmm. And then one no party preference that also doesn't have a lot of name ID. I understand that my opponents are the establishment. Someone had done some polling last fall, and because they were trying to convince somebody else to run, they didn't want to see me do well, but I came out with number 1 name ID, and they're like, it's just not worth it. It's just not worth it. But we've got 2 guys that have been around for a while. They've split up the establishment. One's going one way, half of them are going the other way. Between these 2 guys, they have all the money. I think they probably each have about $250,000. Mm-hmm. And I only have about $30,000, but I have all the people, all the unpaid volunteers, which means, people that have been paying attention. When they walk precincts and somebody at the front door asks them a question, they can actually answer it.
Right.
Some paid high school student, walking, who's just happy to get a free slice of pizza, $50 for the day. And somebody at the front door asks them a question. They can't answer the question. It's like, well, I don't know. I'm just walking because I'm getting paid to do it, which is not the same. Just not the same. So it's looking actually very, very good for me. A couple of weeks ago, the California Republican Assembly held its endorsing convention, and all 5 Republicans were up for the endorsement for this seat, which was probably the most contested of the endorsements that they entertained that day. And you have to get, as you well know, a 2/3 threshold of all the voting delegates in order to be endorsed. And with 5 splitting up the vote, almost anything could have happened. But I was endorsed by them in the first round, which really...
That's got to be almost historical, isn't it?
Just about. Just about. Usually you would expect something like that to take at least 2 or 3 rounds. When there are that many Republicans, because they usually will throw out the lowest vote getter until the third. And if, of course, no one has 2/3 by the 3rd round, they just say no endorsement. There's nobody being endorsed. Mm-hmm. So I'm doing well with that. This week from Saturday, we will be opening my campaign headquarters, which was just, honestly, if I had more time, I'd tell you the story, but it's a God thing. This entire campaign has been a God thing. Mm-hmm. It's just my path is just being cleared for me. I'm being directed. People are just doing things for me that I would have never expected. My campaign headquarters, I'll tell you this much about it, is in the same building as the existing 68th Assembly District offices. And I would have never in a million years thought to be so bold to go for a campaign headquarters at all, right, because it costs money generally. Mm-hmm. But to have it in that building, it's like, oh, you must be kidding. But that's exactly what's happened. And they wanted me to get, obviously, some liability insurance, just in case one of the volunteers was injured. And of course, I took care of that. I called a mutual friend of ours who happens to do insurance, and I said, this is what I need. He goes, oh, well, we really don't do things like that. Campaign headquarters are always a bit different than a small business. Next thing I know, he's called me back. He's figured out a way around it. Not only did he take care of the insurance within just about 4 hours, he paid for it. It's like, what? And wow. It's just every time I turn around, somebody is doing something for me without my even asking. They're just doing it, creating, brochures or creating flyers or doing, advertising for me. I had somebody just call me, and on the April 16th, we're doing a fundraiser. He's a gun broker. He's a longtime supporter, and he is doing slow cooked tri-tip barbecue and salads at his place, and he's putting up an AR-15. somebody's going to leave there with an AR-15 custom made, just for the low price of $99 to come to the Deborah Pauley fundraiser on April 16th. That's a pretty nice gift.
Yeah.
And, it's just been like that. I have a website, of course, DeborahPauley.com. That's DeborahPauley.com. There are press releases, there are photos, there's, of course, a donate button. Even if people just donate $20, it all matters. We're collecting money right now for yard signs, which we should have delivered next Thursday. They're pricey. It's expensive. It's unfortunate that I have to raise money. I hate to ask people for money, but I have to. Yeah. If I don't ask, I won't have what I need, and I won't be able to win. But and again, this is a God thing. I have managed to stay right ahead of what I've needed all along the way, and I'm just faithful. I'm just hoping that that my supporters will continue to be faithful to that and keep me solvent, keep our campaign solvent, and we're just having a really fantastic time with all of this, John.
Well, I've had more than one Republican candidate on this show from Orange County in different district races, state assembly, Senate races. We have had several people on here over the years, and I've only endorsed one other person that I've come on the show that I've had on the show. I did endorse Tim Donnelly when he was running for governor, and unfortunately he was shanghaied by the establishment, but that's yesterday's news. But I can say this. I was telling my listeners before we came on the air that you're probably one of, I can count on the number of fingers on one hand of Republicans that I have met that walk into the lion's den every day, known as the establishment, and somehow walk out of there unfazed and unaffected by why. Because I have been to some of these meetings, and I can tell you there's one or two reactions that I always have. One is, let me get the hell out of here, or two, somebody give me a gun. That's
a terrible way to talk. I've left them early on. I used to leave just feeling really literally sick to my stomach. But I will say this: more and more people are rising up. They recognize the problems that we have and why we have them. And I think you're going to see a sea change. I honestly believe it. This is going to be the year.
Well, this purging that took place at the CRA, the California Republican Assembly, that has to have the hand of God on it. I didn't think that would ever be turned around the way it was going there, and it sounds like they are heading finally back into the direction of Ronald Reagan.
I think so. I mean, it certainly has looked like it, and not just this past one, but I'd say it's been about a year, but it's been for some really hardworking and very clever, godly people that have slowly worked their way through, and it's been a statewide effort, and they've got some great leadership right now, and it's been a real blessing to be around them.
Okay, Deb, so we're out of time here, but I do want to do a couple of things here. One, I want to tell the people we're gonna put Deborah's link on our website, because we are going to endorse Deborah. I have don't even have a moment's hesitation here in endorsing Deborah for this office. I know what she does. I've seen her work. I've seen her in operation, and she is fearless. It's just like there's some of these people I've met, and I shudder when I meet them. And it's hard to shake me. And but I've met some of these people that she deals with, and she's just totally fearless. So you have our endorsement, Debs, for sure, without a shadow of a doubt. We'll put her website. We'll put Deborah Pauley. What's it? DeborahPauley.com.
That's right, DeborahPauley.com.
Okay, DeborahPauley.com. I'll put that on our website. And I want to just give you a couple more minutes here just to plug anything else you've got to plug. You've got upcoming events?
I do. I've got, obviously we have fundraisers that people are doing. If you go to my website or even Facebook, actually I have 5,000 friends on my personal Facebook page, so anybody who wants to participate in our political discussions is going to have to go to my public official page. Just hunt that down. And we have all the same conversations there. I post all the different events that are coming up. A week from Saturday, as I told you, we're going to have our campaign opening 10 to 1 o'clock. That's posted on our Facebook page and on our website. So if you want to come, we just definitely want you there. We'll be handing out precinct walk packets. We expect people to get out there and walk. We'll have our yard signs available there. That evening is the AR-15 fundraiser. If anybody is interested in a custom-made AR-15, if you can get it for $99, it's a pretty good deal.
Yeah.
And it's a very good deal.
If we can get through the paperwork, right?
Pardon me?
I said if we can get through all the paperwork.
Yeah, it is frustrating, but we cross all the T's and dot all the I's. I've got an amazing campaign treasurer who knows all the rules, so that we don't get ourselves sideways, and we don't want to. We want to do this thing the right way, because I want to bring honor to the position. I want to stand strong for conservative values, but I want to do it in an honorable fashion, and that means being forthright, being honest, and being transparent, which is one of the biggest problems I think we have in this state, is the things that are done, in the back room.
Yeah, well, you're definitely one of the most transparent people I know, without a shadow of
a those are some of the things that we're doing. There's a lot going on. There's tons of moving parts. I've got, questionnaires in with a variety of organizations, and I have... I'm being interviewed all the time by them, and pretty soon we'll be seeing some more endorsements coming through. Actually, I just put out today the endorsement of the former Republican Assembly floor leader, Kurt Hagman. He's endorsed me, saying that I'm probably the most reliable and trustworthy, one of the most reliable and trustworthy conservatives in the state. And I just thought, wow, that's great. So that press release just went out just about maybe 2 hours ago, if.
Well, you can.
Those are starting to come in. Here's the deal: June 7th is the primary. The top 2 vote getters move forward in November. It could be Republican on Republican. It could be a Republican on Democrat. It's up to me to be one of the top 2, and the only way I'm going to do it is if I have the help of the people, and that's making phone calls, walking, even if it's just donating $20 to help me, buy 4 more yard signs. That may be what I need, or sending emails out. Whatever it is that you can do, everybody can do something.
Right.
And if we all work together, we can definitely take back the state. We can ensure that we have real conservatives coming up from places like Orange County, which should be sending up the most conservative legislators in the state to Sacramento and explaining to them what conservative principles are and why they are the best solutions for getting our state back on track and re-attracting businesses, so that we don't have to increase the taxes on people, but tax base just increases by virtue of the fact that we have businesses and families thriving.
All right, my dear, we're out of time here. I do thank you so much for coming on. I hope you add my name to your endorsement page, because we definitely will endorse you here from the Conservative Syndicate. And it's just nice to hear your voice again. And
it's nice to hear you too. If you send me that link, we'll be sure to get that up. I'm excited about that. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your longtime friendship, John, and for the fact that you're still out there just faithfully informing the electorate and bringing people on, not just locally but nationally. And we need, because of the mainstream media. Like I said, the mainstream media didn't bother showing up at all.
No.
To our rally today, so it has to be the new media, which means citizen media.
All right, my dear, and our prayers with you. Good luck. We'll be following you, and we'll have to have you back on and get a report.
Absolutely. I'll talk to you later on.
Have a great day. God bless you. Bye-bye. Okay, that was Deborah Pauley, running for the State Assembly out here, 68th District. We're going to put up information pertaining to her site out here, because we are following out here in California. I've got about we're hitting pretty close to 300,000 listeners a month. About 30% of our audience is actually out here in Orange County, believe it or not. So it's pertinent to put this information up here, and we just thank her for coming on. It's time for a break here. We went through the break. I wanted to go through the break because of the importance of what I wanted to help Deborah with. And when we come back, we'll have a very short segment, and then we'll be going into the second hour, getting back to the national scene. So stay with us right here. It's Conservative Syndicate. Don't go away.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Term life insurance. It can be a powerful way to protect your assets and your family. You work hard to earn and save your money to build a nest egg for the future. Don't let it get wiped out because you didn't plan ahead. Take the time now and make a small investment in $500,000 or more in quality term life insurance. Call the Term Lifeline and let us shop the best companies to give you the lowest rates. We specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. Ask about some of our 10 and 20-year fixed rate plans with guaranteed rates. Call the Term Lifeline right now for your free insurance quote. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609. You owe it to yourself to protect your family and your assets. Make term life insurance part of that plan. Call the Term Lifeline right now. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live, daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
Back, and this is the Conservative Syndicate. I'm your host, John Matthews. I hope you enjoyed that interview. Like I said, Deborah is a very, very close friend. We've worked together on things, activism, the full spectrum of politics out here in Orange County, California. And I've known her now for, it's been 6 years, I guess. I first met her when she was running for re-election in the Villa Park City Council back when we were known as Right and Wrong Radio, and our friendship has just gone on. Through her, we met Karen Sigmund, who has been on this show as a panel member also. So the relationship is long and extended. And when I found out she was running for state assembly, I've actually been encouraging her to try to run for Senate. She would make a fantastic senator. She doesn't take lip from anybody, and she can dish out as well as take in what's happening out there. And she does it, and she sticks to her principles. I have never seen her compromise. I've never heard her back off. She's just one of those people, rare breed of politician these days. So I just wish her the best, and we'll do whatever we can on this show to help her get to where she's going, so it'll benefit all of us. All right, so what we're going to be doing here in just another minute or so, we're going to be coming to the end of the hour here. We're going to run the Edwards Notebook, pay some bills, but I just want to kind of give you a heads up here. Next hour, I'm going to talk about the situation over in Switzerland that's going on with the Muslim radicals over there, that the citizenship or the constituency over in Switzerland is fed up with all these Muslim refugees, with all the violence that they brought in and all the other effects on their infrastructure. And we're going to talk about that. The citizens got together, passed a referendum demanding that they deport about 80,000 of these Muslims out of the country because of what has happened to the nation since they have come in. We're hearing the same thing. There's some stuff going on over in Belgium right now. The Netherlands is having some issues with this stuff. Germany is starting to shut down mosques. There's a whole lot of stuff going on. And what are we doing over in the U.S.? Just bending over and saying, send us more. You know, that's what this administration has been doing. So, hey, it's time now for the Edwards Notebook. We'll be back in about 5 minutes with the second hour here. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Don't go away.
When
When I was a little boy growing up in Cleveland, my dad often talked about loyalty to family and loyalty to country. Hello, I'm Ron Edwards on today's page from the Edwards Notebook. If there are inner squabbles within a family or nation, the last thing a family leader like a dad or president of a nation should ever do is publicly proclaim that they welcome criticism from one of their biggest enemies. But that is exactly what President Obama did during his visit to Cuba. To quote Mr. Obama, quote, I actually welcome President Castro commenting on areas he feels we are falling short, unquote. I find this totally not right, considering that Cuban leaders are brutes who lock up citizens for going to church and have totally decimated the Cuban economy. Obama doesn't need any help in ruining the U.S. economy, by the way. Besides, Cuban leaders annually school Congressional Black Caucus members on how to dismantle American life through disruption and deception. Mr. Obama's faulty judgment is a sad reflection of the bad judgment that American voters made in the last presidential election. Prayerfully, the next choice made for U.S. president will actually benefit our republic, who, for starters, would be loyal to America. I'm Ron Edwards.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, auto pay, and paperless billing and other restrictions apply. If you can't see the difference, why pay the difference? Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Only Dish brings you the best in entertainment for less than $20 a month. Cut the cable and don't get directed. Switch to Dish because at just $19.99, Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. It's so simple. The same channels cost less with Dish. So since you can't see the difference, don't pay the difference. Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Get premium movie channels free for 3 months, starting at just $19.99. Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. Call now to save with Dish. Dial 1-800-600-1645. That's 1-800-600-1645. The same channels for less than $20 a month. Dish. Call 1-800-600-1645 for details.
Attention taxpayers. If you've received a notice from the IRS or state, do not ignore it. It's also a big mistake to try and handle your tax problem on your own. If you owe back taxes, it's a fact that the government has the power to take everything you own, including your home, business, wages, savings, and your freedom. But here's the good news. There's a special toll-free tax hotline set up especially for you. This tax hotline will tell you about new programs that are geared to help you dramatically settle, reduce, or eliminate what you owe. But you have to call now. Take down this number or put it in your cell phone. But call 866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959. When you call, you get free information on how you can reduce or eliminate back taxes, including penalties and interest. You can also be helped if you have unfiled returns, a tax lien, wage garnishment, bank levy, or if you've been entered into a payment plan but can't make the payments. Don't make the big mistake in thinking you can ignore or handle your tax problem on your own. You can stop the collection process immediately. Call this special tax hotline today for free info at 1-866-761-0959. That's 1-866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959.
Read something recently worth thinking about. It's the soldier, not the campus organizer, who's given us freedom to demonstrate. It's the soldier, not the reporter, who's given us freedom of the press. It's the soldier, not the poet, who's given us freedom of speech. It's the soldier who serves under the flag, who defends the protesters' right to burn the flag. Isn't it time now to demonstrate that we support our troops? Were it not for the brave, there'd be no land of the free.
Fred Thompson's message was brought to you by citizensunited.org.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. And then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-790-5960. That's 1-800-790-5960. Again, 1-800-790-5960. Call now.
Hey, all you can do is just tell the truth and trust in the American people that over time they're going to know what the truth is.
Yes, it is time for the truth. Right here, right now. This is the Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives. With your host, John Matthews.
The latter-day prophet. Baying against the hypocrisies of our time.
And Joe Akos.
You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
The Conservative Syndicate is comprised of some of the most informed pundits and activists available today. Together, we seek to tear down the imaginary wall, a separation between church and state through education, information, and engagement on the religion of politics and the politics of religion. And now, your host on the globally syndicated Conservative Syndicate, John Matthews and Joe Akos.
Hey, we're back. This is hour 2 of the Conservative Syndicate. I am your host, John Matthews, mad prophet of the airways on a mission from God, and that mission is to tear down the imaginary wall separation between church and state. We do that on this show by educating, informing, and engaging you, our listening audience. And once again, I hope you enjoyed that interview with Deborah Pauly's first hour. Now, I want to get back into the national scene, or in this case, the international scene. It's being played out all across local communities across our country and around the world. And that is the issue of Islamic radicalism, that nasty word that just we can't seem to get out of this president's mouth, an admission that we're dealing with the radical element of Islam. And I'm not one of these people that sits around and thinks that every Muslim should be deported, or that every mosque should be closed or anything like that. I do believe in religious freedom, but I believe in also the concept and the principle of assimilation, meaning that when people come into this country, there should be a certain amount of assimilation into our way of doing things. Out here in California, one of the most diverse states in the Union, when you get an election campaign, for instance, I'll tell you this story. I'll relate it to you this way. Last year, I was thinking myself about running for city council out here in my area where I live out here, Norwalk, California. And it's in L.A. County. We're about 20 miles south of L.A., and we're right on the border between L.A. County and Orange County. And I thought, I look at things like my congresswoman out here is Linda Sanchez, one of the commie sisters, the other one known as Loretta Sanchez, who has set up her stronghold down in Garden Grove. And then we had, for many years out here in my district, was led by Grace Napolitano. And one of the things I've noticed, I've lived in Norwalk about 25 years, and I've noticed that Grace Napolitano, every year since we moved here, runs for re-election and has never had anybody oppose her at all. She just gets up there and she posts her signs, and she has been investigated for corruption and illegal loans during her campaigns and stuff like that. I don't know why you need money to campaign if nobody's running against you, but that's another story for another day. My point being, I thought, you know what? I'm going to give it a shot here. I'm going to run for an office out here and see if I can help affect some of the things that are going on. My particular area is the schools, education, what I see going on out in schools out here in California. It's all social engineering, very little about education. So I thought, I want to get actively involved in this. And I guess the point I'm making at getting involved in this kind of stuff and seeing what's going on and going down there and checking out what I have to do and everything, one of the things they mention to you is that when you have your little blurb, your platform, what it is you're running on and what you think you can do if you're in office, and they publish it in the voter's guide. Well, you have to pay to have that published, and you have to pay $600 to get it published. But it's $600 for each language that you get it published in, and you have to have at least 6 languages in order to have your blurb published. Otherwise, they'll put your name in there, but they won't put anything in there about you. And I almost thought about doing it because I know that in local elections, like city councils and school board elections, stuff like that, the ratio of voters that show up per capita in terms of population. In Norwalk here, I think we have 350,000 people. In any given school board election, you're lucky to have 3,000 people show up. So I thought, well, maybe I could do that. Maybe I could just throw my name out there. But since I live in a very largely populated by Hispanic district, the name Matthews doesn't ring too many. You don't think of Cinco de Mayo when you hear the name Matthews, So I kind of weighed this stuff out. But what I'm getting at here is the back to the immigration thing, is that you have to have voter guides and everything else published in all these different languages. You've got to have it done in English and, of course, Espanol. And where we're at, we live here, we border other things like Filipinos in Cerritos. So you've got to have Tagalog out there. And then we have the Vietnamese district south of that. And we've got the Muslim district to the east of us. So all these things have to be done. You have to put all these things together. And so I'm sitting there thinking, when it comes to a simulation, for crying out loud, shouldn't at least one of the things you should be mandated to do is learn English? Shouldn't that be like a mandate? You've got to learn English. You've got to be able to communicate in English. I drive around my cities now, and I see the billboards in Korean. I see them in Arabic. I see them in Spanish, and it's hard to even find an English billboard out here anymore. So that I'm not against immigration. I'm married to an immigrant. I came from immigrants. I'm third generation. My grandparents came out here from Ireland. So I'm like, okay, I get the gig. But, instead of curtailing everything to assimilate into their culture and their beliefs, it should be the other way around. That is the way it's supposed to work. That's the way it's always worked in the past. And now that we're doing it the other way, this is what we end up with. We end up with organizations coming in there like ISIS, and not only in the United States but around the world, demanding that everything be altered to fit their culture and their religion, and we're not allowed to object to it. We're not allowed to do anything about it. And so what do you have now? Well, you have some international terrorist activity going on out there, and it's only a matter of time before it hits over here in the United States on the same scale. We've already had things happen over here. I live just north of San Bernardino, where we had the San Bernardino shootings. It's about 45 minutes away from here, from where we live. So I know this is a very real situation out here. But we're going to talk about this. This is our short segment. We got to go to a break. When we come back, I want to talk about this situation over in Switzerland and what they're doing over there. So stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. We'll be right back.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. And then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-790-5960. That's 1-800-790-5960. Again, 1-800-790-5960. Call now.
Prices are for base buildings only. May not be available in some areas. Attention business owners, do you want a stimulus package that really works? Before you spend thousands of dollars more than you should on your next building project, listen to this. General Steel has a stimulus package designed to help you save as much as half the cost of conventional construction on your next building. As much as half. That's right. General Steel can save you thousands of dollars with a pre-engineered steel building designed for your business or church. How about a 50 by 100 foot building for under $30,000? So don't pay thousands more than you should without calling General Steel first and save as much as half the cost and time of conventional construction. With the projected demand for steel in Japan and China, prices may be skyrocketing.
877-927-3360. 877-927-3360. 877-927-3360.
Read something recently worth thinking about. It's the soldier, not the campus organizer, who's given us freedom to demonstrate. It's the soldier, not the reporter, who's given us freedom of the press. It's the soldier, not the poet, who's given us freedom of speech. It's the soldier who serves under the flag, who defends the protesters' right to burn the flag. Isn't it time now to demonstrate that we support our troops? Were it not for the brave, there'd be no land of the free.
Fred Thompson's message was brought to you by citizensunited.org.
And we are back. You're listening to the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. And I want to get back into this conversation here about what's going on over in Switzerland. And the common theme here, see, this is something that's coming to light across this great globe of ours, God's creation, is that a lot of these countries that have embraced the refugee, we need to give them a place to stay kind of thing, a lot of these nations are waking up. As I mentioned, I'm going to talk in detail here about Switzerland. The Netherlands is starting to have some doubts about what's going on. Germany is starting to shut their borders and shutting down mosques. There's a whole bunch of stuff that's going on out here right now because people realize that, hey, we've been sold a bill of goods. And when you live in socialistic communities, as Europe has become, the Socialistic Union, they call it the European Union, but it's actually the Socialistic European Union over there. A lot of these people have embraced socialist concepts. Some of them run very socialistic-looking types of economy. You could say maybe socialistic, democratic socialist type of thing, although I don't really think democratic socialism actually exists. I think that's a name that has come up to take the sting out of the word socialist. Let's throw the word Democrat in there, and it makes it sound just a little bit more easy to accept and embrace, and maybe a little bit more, or a little less tyrannical. I guess that's the word I'm thinking of here. Anyway, over here in Switzerland, what's happening now is that, in fact, this is Brussels, okay? I guess that's what it is. Brussels? It's Brussels in Switzerland, I believe it is. Okay, now, look, here's the deal. No, Brussels is in Belgium. Geez, I forgot. Man, my geography sucks these days. Anyway, what's going on here is this article I'm looking at here, Christian Broadcasting Network. And what I'm looking at here is what they're talking about is the cover-up by the governments of these nations, like Belgium and Netherlands and Switzerland and places like this, where they are talking about the fact that the government has hidden from them what is going on in a large regard with what's going on with the immigrants that are coming in from the Middle East, whether it be Syria or Iran or wherever it is they're coming from. And I think right now Syria is a hot spot. And, Brussels, that's in Belgium. There we go. Okay, so there's two places I'm talking about here, Belgium and Sweden. Okay, there's two. I got my wires crossed there for a second. Okay, so the public over in Europe they're beginning to see that they basically have been programmed. that they have just been sold a bill of goods, and it's been through the media. Now, we're no strangers to what the media can do out here in terms of establishing and putting forth a narrative that is contrary to principles and beliefs of the majority. And we see it portrayed over here in our country this way. Homosexuality. We get some people out there that want to decide that they want marriage defined as between two people who love each other. Okay? Now, we've seen some expansions on that. We've got now people that want to marry their horse, and it's filtered into the actual gender identity kind of thing. We've talked in this show about it's not just transgender anymore. It's not bisexual anymore. It's what they call gender queers. Gender queers are homosexuals that claim no sexual preference, no sexual identity at all. They are just whatever they are. I don't know how you deal with that. Somebody posted, Joe Hakos, my co-host, who's not with us right now, but he posted on my page the other day of a girl who claims that she has been a cat her entire life, actually claiming that she's a cat. And she has been a cat. She was born a cat. Of course, she looks like a woman. I guess maybe she thinks she's Catwoman. I'm not really sure how you play that stuff out here. And actually, while I'm talking here, I'm looking it up, what the name. They actually have a name for this. See, these guys, they love to label stuff. They label stuff because if you label it, then you can identify it. And if you can identify it, then you can redefine it. And if you can redefine it, then you can justify it. You can rationalize it. You can make it into whatever you want it to be, and it can mean whatever you want it to mean. And this is where we're going here. All identity with creation and how how we were created, and natural law, and all these things are out to lunch here. Okay, transspeciesism. That's what it's called. Transspeciesism. So this woman says she's born a cat. She was born a cat, and I don't know how you get. How do people think like this? How can you get up every morning, look at your mirror one day, and just go, you know what? I'm not really a human being. I'm a cat. I don't get it. I don't get it. How do you wake up one morning and decide, you know, I got a really nice beard coming in, but I'm not really a male, and I'm not really female because I don't have the parts that identify me as female. But I don't feel like a male. I don't feel like a man. So I'll just call myself a genderqueer. I'm just whatever I feel on any given day, I guess, depending on who you're around or whatever, what you've had to drink, what you've had to eat, who you're hanging out with. The reasoning, well, there is no reasoning. The insanity is beyond comprehension. So the same thing is happening here with these narratives in terms of Islamic radicals that are being brought into countries under the guise of humanitarian refugees. Okay, they're refugees. They're not immigrants. They're not radicals. They're not anything. They are refugees. They're fleeing from persecution. They're fleeing from violence. They're fleeing from political ostracization and all the other things that they claim. But what we know to be true, and what ISIS has told us, for crying out loud, they have told us that they're going to be sending radicals in amongst these refugees. And because these borders have been opened, the liberals all have this one common thing: open borders. Open borders. Why do you think that is? What do you think the common ground is with a liberal? Why do they want open borders? Well, think about it this way. Let's take the United States as an example here. Why would Barack Obama want open borders? Why would he want to risk destroying the economy? Why would he want to risk security issues and security problems by opening the border to illegal immigrants coming up through South America, whether they be as far south as Brazil to Mexico to Cuba, whatever, you name it. Just pick a country down there and say, why do we want to open our borders to them? Well, there's a couple reasons. One, because they're used to tyranny. They come from countries that are run by tyrannical rulers. So you don't really have to brief these people on the advantages of communism, socialism, Marxism, whatever it is that's out there. They're used to it. The only thing that's bringing them up here north is, of course, there's no jobs in countries that are run by tyrants like this. There is no jobs. So they're heading up here north, okay? And then they want to be able to funnel money back to their people. So our money gets injected into their economy, which allows their leaders to take that money and do what? Continue to build their own power bases and continue to rise and advance whatever ideology they're under, whether, like I said, Marxism, communism, socialism, a combination of whatever you want to say, okay? So why would Obama would want that? Why? Because you're bringing in people that would be familiar with the concepts that he wants advanced. Obama is, for all intents and purposes, if you don't know, he is a Marxist. People who say he's a socialist, no, he's not. He's a Marxist. He came out of the Black Liberation Theology movement, which is based in Marxism. Look up James Cone sometime and find out how Black Liberation Theology came about. James Cone was trying to reconcile the peaceful movement of Martin Luther King and the violent overthrow movement of Malcolm X, and he came up with this new religion. He calls it that. He created this religion so that he could reconcile these two factions of black theology and ideology, and put it together and came up with Black Liberation Theology. Black Liberation Theology, if you don't know, is the doctrine that preaches Jesus came to eradicate racism and poverty. I don't know how many blacks they had in Jerusalem when Jesus was walking around. I don't read anything in the Bible other than a Ethiopian being converted by Stephen on the road somewhere as to having any dealings with African Americans or African Israelis or African Samaritans or anything like that. But that is the religion they believe in, and it is to advance a political agenda much more than a religious agenda. It's to level the playing fields in this socio-economic field that has been brought about by hundreds of years of oppression by white men over black men. That's really where it's at. Okay, so I know I sound like I'm digressing, but stick with me. As I say, method to my madness when I go off in these threads. So Obama wants illegals in here because they're easy to condition. Throw them a bone, and they'll follow you anywhere. So then what do we want to do is we want to be able to then to start limiting those who really understand freedom and republicanism, which we are still under. Fortunately, it's been mutated, but it is still technically republicanism, which is individual rights, right to personal property, right to a say as to what goes on in your government. And so we are being conditioned to assimilate to the attitudes and the culture of those who come into our country from tyrannical type governments. Rather than integrating them and assimilating them into our way of thinking, we are being directed through ostracization, narratives, demonization, all the things that go on. Being an American today is bad. Being American today is bad. Because everything that Americans have done over the centuries that we've been around has been at the expense of somebody else, on the backs of somebody else. And the poor people that do come into this country, we just take advantage of them and we climb up our capitalistic ladders at the expense of those that come into this country trying to free themselves from oppression in these tyrannical countries, that kind of thing. So it's population replacement. That's really what it's all about. It's the idea that Americans, that's what abortion is about, limiting the number of Americans that reproduce. And by doing that, you begin to what? Change the shape and the structure and the culture of a country. You're bringing in mass numbers of people from the Middle East, from Mexico, from wherever they're coming from. And Americans are being taught that it's okay to kill your kids. And so, you don't want the responsibility of having kids, so you just take their life because, after all, it's your choice. You have the choice to do that. And so what happens is, and we've seen it out here in California. California, again, you can see it out here. The Hispanic population out here in California is beginning to overrun the white population out here. And the black population, for that matter, also. You go into L.A. today. I believe Los Angeles has a population now of over 3 million, close to 4 million people, I believe it is. And 35% of that's Hispanic. That's a big hunk. That's a big hunk. And it's growing. They're saying, I guess some projections are out here by the year 2030 or whatever, whites will become a minority in this country. If it continues, if the trends with abortion and immigration and all the other things that are going on. And so in the process, all this is simulation of us accepting others' beliefs and tolerating it at worst and embracing it at best. And then what happens is we lose our identity as Americans. And so that makes it easier for the tyrants to rule. And we do it all under political correctness, and we do it all for the right reasons, to tolerate the inhumanity that's being shown to all the other countries in the world. And we're sacrificing what has made us great and given us the freedom for the purpose of doing what? Catering or pandering to those who don't have it. And in the mix, what happens is we lose sight of what it is, and it disappears. And we will eventually become another third world banana republic. That is the goal. That is the liberals' goal. So what the liberals have been doing over there in Europe is they've been telling their people, out of compassion, we need to bring these people in. Well, the people are coming in, but they're screwing up the infrastructure of the nations they're coming into. Brussels, as I'm talking about here, I got my articles mixed up here, but Brussels is the first one that I'm talking about here. The left mantra has been no walls, no borders. But many Europeans now realize they were sold a bill of goods about open borders and immigration by the political and media class. Let's translate that into English. The establishments. Voices who warned about the threat from open immigration were either branded racist or simply ignored. Belgian Jewish leader Joel Rubenfeld warned the Christian Broadcast Network News a year and a half ago, that the Belgian government was too soft on Muslim extremists and that more attacks were coming. We say you need a very long fork to eat with the devil. I think there's no fork long enough to eat with Islam. So what's happened is what? They have been the latest victim of terrorist activity. We got to go to a break. Time for Moments of Madness. When we come back, we will get to Switzerland here. I just got my articles crossed up here. Stay with me. We'll be right back.
Today on Moments of Madness. The recent violence that has begun to appear across the country at Donald Trump rallies underscores the truth embedded in the old adage, those who failed to learn from history are too often the idiots that blindly repeat it. Beginning with the removal of Black Lives Matter activists in Georgia, who may have, in all fairness, just wanted to stand silently in protest during Trump's speech, to the sucker punching of a protester being removed for disrupting Trump's speech in North Carolina by a Willie Nelson-looking cowboy, to the 37 arrests for assault, including a very bloody protester in St. Louis, to the nearly riotous outburst in Chicago that led to the hospitalization of several attendees, among them a MoveOn.org organizer. These series of incidences resurrect for those of us old to remember the 1968 Democratic National Convention. The 68 Democratic Convention was a brokered convention brought about by Lyndon Johnson declining to run for re-election, along with the assassinations of Martin Luther King Jr. and Robert Kennedy within a month of each other. Kennedy was running a close second to then Vice President Hubert Humphrey, who had garnered establishment delegates outside traditional primary protocol. Humphrey was the establishment choice. Kennedy, an anti-Vietnam supporter, the people's savior. Also present at the 68 convention was the anti-establishment movement Youth International Party, known as YIPPY, led by Abby Hoffman and Jerry Rubin, and the National Mobilization Committee to End the War in Vietnam, called MOBI, led by David Dellinger. Over the course of 4 days, violence routinely erupted on the streets of Chicago, resulting in 589 arrests, 119 and 100 injuries to police and protesters, respectively, and the death of a 17-year-old stopped for a curfew violation who pulled a weapon and fired upon officers. Here's the madness. Parallels between the 68 convention and what we see playing out today are more than eerie. For instance, there is once again the prospect of a DNC brokered convention, this time to ensure an establishment nominee wins with superdelegates should the current frontrunner with more than a shady past be indicted. Her opponent is a populist socialist lauded by the college crowd who feels the burn. Just as chilling is the even more serious prospect of a GOP brokered convention to stop a populist who refuses to play by establishment rules and in doing so has captured demographics establishment candidates can only dream of. Following the 68 convention, another radical group formed at Ann Arbor, Michigan by Students for a Democratic Society called SDS. Founded by a radicalized Bill Ayers, the Weather Underground capitalized on the anti-Vietnam movement and the rise of the Black Panthers. The Weathermen, as they came to be called, participated in bombings of police stations and government installations like the Pentagon, along with riots that coincided with the trial of the Chicago 7, those who had been arrested on conspiracy charges the year before during the 68 Democratic Convention. Today, college campuses across the country have their own underground. Black Lives Matter, many of them who are being trained by MoveOn.org, who we now see showing up in larger and larger number at Trump rallies. The only impartiality they display is the fact they squeeze in an occasional Clinton event on their quest to whine and moan about their identity dilemma. And who do these self-proclaimed disenfranchised college youths look for inspiration? None other than Bernie Sanders, self-avowed democratic socialist who spews forth his own revolutionary rhetoric of government overthrow through redistribution economics. Yes, the parallels are as uncanny as they are eerie. Even more frightening, though, is the prospect this time around. While everyone acknowledges the inmates are running the asylum, no one in charge seems to care enough to put any of them back in their straitjackets. My guess is they just want to watch history repeat itself. Unfortunately, there are enough idiots running the streets to make it so. This is John Matthews for Moments of Madness. You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Prices are for base buildings only. May not be available in some areas. Attention business owners, do you want a stimulus package that really works? Before you spend thousands of dollars more than you should on your next building project, listen to this. General Steel has a stimulus package designed to help you save as much as half the cost of conventional construction on your next building. As much as half. That's right, General Steel can save you thousands of dollars with a pre-engineered steel building designed for your business or church. How about a 50 by 100 foot building for under $30,000? So don't pay thousands more than you should without calling General Steel first and save as much as half the cost and time of conventional construction. With the projected demand for steel in Japan and China, prices may be skyrocketing.
877-927-3360. 877-927-3360. 877-927-3360.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live, daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
Conservative Syndicate. If you're just tuning in, this is the conservative talk from real conservatives. I guess that's the way I should put that. I am your host, John Matthews, and I want to get back into this little piece here. I kind of screwed it up because I had to put the cart before the horse. It was one of those kind of things. Cart before the horse here. I wanted so much to get to Switzerland, and I forgot to talk about Belgium first, and then looking at the article here, and I just mixed up my paragraphs here. So what's happening here is, there's been these warnings going out by people talking about the fact that this massive influx of Muslim refugees, we'll give them the benefit of the doubt. We'll say that there's a good number of them. They're probably refugees. because ISIS is killing everybody. They don't care whether you're Muslim or Christian or any combination of or anything not even related to that. If you're expedient to their movement and their cause, if they can cut your head off in front of a video camera and get people to freak out and shake and everything else, that's what they'll do. So anyway, Brussels is now what I guess what I was saying was there's been this cover-up over in Brussels. I don't know how you cover things up. It's kind of like when we see things going here. Things going on here. Like I said, out here in California, we know the effects of immigration. We know what the illegal immigration system, lack of immigration system out here that brings in illegals, what it does and how it impacts the infrastructure out here. But what has happened is, I guess, people just kind of, maybe what it is that people think, you see something going on in your neighborhood or you see something down the street and you just think it's localized. You just think, well, it can't be happening all over the place because the media's not covering it. They're not talking about it. Until one day it becomes so big that all of a sudden you're like, oh, wow, it is big. It is big. So the people in Brussels are kind of upset about what's going on over there right now. Now, having said that, let me get to Switzerland here. Okay, finally got to Switzerland here. Sweden has been notorious for censoring the problems of immigration over there. And because Sweden is very socialistic in some of their dealings with their people, they're not a socialistic type government. Although I will tell you this, I believe the average resident of Sweden pays about 70% of their income in taxes. Okay, 70%. And in exchange for that, they're taken care of in terms of housing and health care and stuff like that. So a lot of people try to use Sweden as that model. I remember my former doctor, my primary care physician, before I went into the VA system, and he was a very liberal activist. He was a part of the MAA, the American Medical Association, and he was very actively involved. And him and I used to have massive debates when I went to see him. In fact, I think that's why he fell behind on his schedule sometimes. He'd come in and we would sit for an hour, hour and a half, talking politics, me being the conservative, him being the socialist. He described the Obama administration to me as another form of capitalism. That's how he phrased it to me. I said, everything this guy does is socialist with Marxist overtones. No, John, it's just another form of capitalism, okay? And we would debate about that. But anyway, he used, to me, Sweden as the ideal model for healthcare. He said, Sweden, and man, if we get set up like Sweden, it would be so sweet. And I'm saying, yeah, but they pay 70% of their income in taxes. And he's like, well, but they got good health care. See, it didn't really matter. It didn't really matter to him that the private property and everything else was falling under the jurisdiction of the state. If 70% of every 70 cents out of every dollar that you're earning goes to the government, you're going to have to depend on that government for something. And if you're depending on that government, who is going to bite the hand that feeds them? So you're going to just line up. So the propaganda hits the Swedish newspapers, and they have a tendency to censor their media over there, meaning whatever they want to go out rather than what's actually happening around the world. Now, I imagine Swedes have internet. I imagine they can go out and research and find out whatever it is they want to find out, if they really want to. But when you've been conditioned to think like this, when you've been conditioned that this is the way things go, look at Britain, look at England, how after World War II, they went from a parliamentary type of government, with a queen and everything. They still have those things in place, but the country has been, conditioned to think more socialistic. And that's why they joined the European Union, because that's why they have allowed a massive influx of refugees and immigrants to come into the country, that they're now dealing with the fallout from all that. So that what happens is the people go along with it, and that's what we're seeing in this country. The people go along with it for a certain amount of time. And why is that? Well, it's not really affecting me directly. Okay, I remember people out here back in the early days. You know, I've lived out here in California since 1959, with the exception of the times I was in the military. But out here in California, you know, I remember the olden days, and it wasn't a big deal. Yeah, we had Mexicans running around all over the place and everything else, but it really wasn't a big deal. You know, everybody's just trying to get along. Everybody's just trying to make a living. Yeah, and it doesn't make any difference until welfare came in the 60s. And it became the mainstay of a lot of the people that come into the country illegally. So, you know, it didn't happen right away. It was a slow evolution. The healthcare systems over in the European theater over there didn't happen overnight. It was something that happened slowly, little by little. Same thing here in America. We started out with Social Security. Look where we're at now. We've got nationalized healthcare. We've got nationalized Medicaid and national, everything is becoming more and more nationalized. And it just happens gradually, and you don't pay any attention. It's like that frog in the water, that the water starts, you put the frog in the cold water, and you heat it up, and then by the time the frog figures out what's going on, you've got frog legs for dinner, you know, that kind of thing. So over in Sweden, I don't know why I said Switzerland. I guess I just got Bernie Sanders on my mind, but Sweden has been censoring the problems of immigration by controlling the media. And what they've been doing is showing what they're doing is they're showing pictures of immigrants, but they're portraying them in the manner that they do it as being nothing, as if they were just fellow Swedes, okay? The Swedish police have a special code when handling immigrants. It's called a Code 291. And now they're being told, the police are being told to cover up the crimes that the Muslim refugees, quote unquote, are committing in the country because they don't want the public to become alarmed. Well, what's happened is people are finding out. They're finding out. So what happened here? I'm going to go down now to my article here. Swiss voters reject mass migration of Muslims. This is back in October of last year. See, it's just now filtering out here through to us. It might have been out there, but I'm just now finding this stuff. And it says here that, and this is from InfoWars. Those of you out there in Shake and Wake Radio, you'll love this. This is from Kurt Nemo over at InfoWars. I'll just read the article. It's very short, but it'll get to the point of what I'm trying to say here. It says, Swiss voters on Sunday sent a message to the European Union that they will not tolerate the mass migration of Muslims from the Middle East. The Swiss People's Party, SVP, took the largest percentage of parliamentary seats over the weekend, making it the dominant political party in Switzerland. Now, that's where Switzerland comes from. Okay. It won 29.4% of the vote. I knew they were there somewhere. The central issue during the election was the massive influx of largely illegal immigrants. The vote was clear. The people are worried about mass migration to Europe. The SVP election victory comes nearly 2 years after the Swiss people voted in favor of a referendum limiting the number of foreigners living in the country. Socialists lamented the victory and their losses during the election. The Christian Democrats, I don't know where you get that from, the Christian Democrats and the Green Liberals also lost seats in Parliament. One theme has unfortunately been very dominant during the campaign, said Rebecca Rees, a candidate for the Socialists. The Swiss people voted out of fear. Well, what else are you going to vote out of when you see your country being blown to smithereens by people strapping bombs to their back, for crying out loud? We got to go to break. When we come back, this is a short break. When we come back, we'll finish this up. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Don't go away.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Term life insurance. It can be a powerful way to protect your assets and your family. You work hard to earn and save your money to build a nest egg for the future. Don't let it get wiped out because you didn't plan ahead. Take the time now and make a small investment in $500,000 or more in quality term life insurance. Call the Term Lifeline and let us shop the best companies to give you the lowest rates. We specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. Ask about some of our 10 and 20 20-year fixed-rate plans with guaranteed rates. Call the Term Life line right now for your free insurance quote. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609. You owe it to yourself to protect your family and your assets. Make term life insurance part of that plan. Call the Term Life line right now. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live, daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
Back. You're listening to the Conservative Syndicate here, real conservative talk from real conservatives, and I'm glad you took the time to join us today. And I should just make the verbal announcement here. I've been talking with the people over here at Shake and Wake Radio in the chat room. Next week we're going to have Denise Davis. She's running for the seat that's being vacated by Harry Reid out in Nevada. Thank God somebody's going to finally put that guy to rest. Neuter him and put him in an old farts home or whatever. But anyway, this woman came to my attention through somebody on Facebook. It might have been Joe. I think Joe might have actually sent me your link. And I just like what I see and hear about this woman. She is hardcore conservative, take no prisoners type of person. And I thought, you know what? Let's give her some airtime. Let's see if we can help her out. Certainly whoever runs for Harry Reid's spot is going to have money and everything else going for him. So we'll see how that all works out. But anyway, next week, April 12th, I believe that's on a Wednesday. Don't have my calendar in front of me, but I know it's April 12th. We'll have Denise Davis running for Senate in Nevada. She'll be with us. And some other things I've got planned here. I want to try to get Chris Hall from Liberty First back on the show. She's our Constitution expert. I've been doing a lot of reading up on the 14th Amendment, and with the latest ruling in redistricting handed down by the Supreme Court earlier this week, that Ruth Ginsburg claims that people who are here illegally deserve representation, and therefore that's why they should keep drawing district lines based on population rather than registered voters. She used the 14th Amendment to justify that ruling. And I think it's time that we dig into this, because the 14th Amendment is being used to cover every demographic, every group that needs to be pandered to. The homosexuals are now covered under the 14th Amendment, not to mention the refugees from Syria that we're talking about right now. Of course, and the illegal immigrants that have come across our border and have children in our country, anchor babies, that kind of stuff. And this really needs to be cleared up, because that was not the original intent. In fact, I doubt very seriously if our framers, when they were writing all this up and when they were designing our form of government, thought about things like trans species, people that thought they were born to be a cat. I doubt they even entertained the idea that 3% of the population of this country of 300 million people would be homosexual. I certainly doubt they thought that we were going to have this massive influx of refugees from Middle East countries smuggling in ISIS operatives. All these things, I bet you none of that stuff crossed their mind. What they were worried about was the tyranny of a king taxing the hell out of people and keeping them in poverty. That was the main gist of everything that the Constitution was based on. Individual freedom, individual choice, and right to property, and the right to worship the God who created us. All this other stuff is it's been, skewed and redefined and deconstructed and all those other things. So anyway, I just get that off my chest here. Now, let's get back here. Let's finish up our little piece here on the mass immigration issues that are going on over in the European Union. And I knew Switzerland was in this thing someplace. So we have Brussels, Belgium, Sweden, and Switzerland, all dealing now with massive attacks on their infrastructure due to the influx of Muslim immigrants or refugees, whatever phrase, whatever word you want to tag on them, a massive influx of another population coming into their country, basically unopposed and unvetted. And in the process of all this, it's been giving ground to the establishment or the Caliphs for ISIS operatives. I was just looking at this morning, I think it was on Christian Broadcasting Network. They did an in-depth study over here in Brussels. I think the name of the community was Montrabine, I think was the name of it. And this has been established or identified as the major caliphate for ISIS over there, because the entire community has become almost entirely Muslim. And because of that, these Islamic radicals have been able to hide amongst these people undetected, because you can't tell one from the other kind of thing. And they were talking about how most of these big major attacks that have come out, the one in Brussels, the one in France, and some of the other ones that we've been watching over the last year or so, all came out of this one community. And now they're trying to figure out how they're going to deal with this. And why is it? Because the mayor of that town turned a blind eye to what was going on, and he shut down people that were making other people in the town aware of what was going on. He is no longer mayor. I believe somewhere along the line here, he's been removed for some reason. I don't know how. I don't know the particulars of it, but the people are upset. And so this reporter from CBN was over there, and he was there, and he was showing and talking to the people. And they were talking about how the neighborhood has gone to hell, is basically what you were hearing from these people. The neighborhood has gone to hell, and it's been because our government has been hiding from us what's been going on. It's been overrun and overtaken. And now the people that used to live there are now the minority, and the Muslims are now the majority. Now, again, I'd have nothing against Muslims worshiping whoever they're and whatever they want to worship. They want to go to hell, that's their choice. There's my definition of freedom of choice. You can choose to go to hell if you wish, all right? Or as I like to phrase on the show here a lot, you have the right to be wrong. But let's take it down to its core. You want to go to hell, that's fine. You think Allah's sitting up there with 70 virgins waiting for you, that's fine. Whatever you want to do. But when your beliefs begin to come in and interfere with our beliefs, and you don't want to assimilate to our lifestyle, at least to the degree of understanding what makes America exceptional, then I have no sympathy for you in terms of what happens, whether it be racism, whether it be political genocide, whatever it is that's going on. You've chosen that path. You pay the consequences. But we here in America, and apparently a lot of these nations over in Europe, are now feeling firsthand the effects of just turning a blind eye and just saying, it's not a big deal, not going to affect me. They stay in their neck of the woods, I'll stay in my neck of the woods, and we'll just learn to get along. Kumbaya, my ass. All right? So that's what's going on. And so now what happened over in Sweden, that's where this thing came down here. I knew Sweden was in here. This referendum was passed by the people, and they want to remove all these migrants that are there, okay? And the number I've been hearing is about 80,000. 80,000 of these people we want out of here. We don't want them around here anymore. The central issue, according to Tony Brunner, the Swiss People's Party representative, said the central issue during the election was a massive influx of large groups of illegal immigrants. A large group of illegal immigrants. And we still have our president today talking about bringing in large groups of illegal immigrants from Syria. Not enough that we have them coming up from Mexico. Now we're going to bring them in from the Middle East, okay? And I got to look up these two parties here. The Christian Democrats, there's an oxymoron for you. The Christian Democrats and the Green Liberals.
What's that? Green liberals. I mean, I don't know about you. I just envision somebody dressed like the Riddler in Batman. You know, Frank Gorshin with green tights on, running around. Yeah, I'm a liberal, you know, that kind of thing. And then the socialist candidate, Rebecca Reese, is a Hispanic name, all right? Oh, she might be a good Hispanic. I don't know. I'm just talking about the fact here that what's happened is the inmates are now running the asylum. And that's happening all across the world, not just here in America. This is dangerous times, folks. Dangerous times. We're looking at the election right now. I didn't even talk about our election today because I just needed a break from it. But it all feeds back to what's going on right now in this moment of time. And whatever happens this November is going to determine our course as to whether God has heard our prayers and is going to heal our land, or he's going to allow us to go into captivity. One of the two things are going to happen. I don't know how it's going to play out, and I don't know by who being in the White House is going to determine one way or the other. We might get a conservative like Ted Cruz in the White House and still be brought into captivity. I'm not sure how it's going to play out. I don't know. We might have Hillary Clinton in the White House and God delivers us. I mean, you know, I don't know how it's going to work out. But I know something's coming down the pipe, and it's big stuff, major stuff. Well, out of time, guys. We'll be back tomorrow, Friday, and we'll continue this discussion and other things. 24 hours, a lot happens. So I'm really, once again, just want to thank you all for your loyalty and listening to the show, supporting us, because that's why we come on the air every day. If it wasn't for you people, I would have moved to the Philippines by now. Okay? All right, my friends. God bless you all, and we will see you tomorrow. Tuning in to this edition of the Conservative Syndicate, the globally syndicated, politically incorrect talk show that seeks to tear down the imaginary wall of separation between church and state. We want to make you aware you can find and access all of our show archives at our website, theconservativesyndicate.net, as well as our broadcast stations and times. That's the conservativesyndicate.net. We so appreciate you taking time to tune in, and we so look forward to continuing to bring you the best and uncompromised talk radio available on the net today. And remember, folks, it doesn't matter how many times you get knocked down in life. It only matters how many times you get up. I'm John Matthews, signing off until next time, right here on the Conservative Syndicate. God bless you, and may God continue to bless America.